Hello, various effective altruisty and kind of blockchainy friends. So the goal of this video is to essentially outline a proposal to support me, kind of in the intersection of effective altruism plus blockchain, and specifically three things. One, kind of bringing more effective altruists into blockchain by seeing and doing kind of intellectual kind of research work here, and seeing whether EAs should treat blockchain as a cause. The second one is kind of bringing more of the blockchain community into effective altruism, and then the third one is kind of a kind of meta point around exploring these bottom-up peer funding mechanisms. So that's the idea. And a quick note before I dive in, the ask here is, to support 5 hours a week of my time at about $50 an hour for a pilot period of 8 weeks. And just a note, I do have these similar kind of peer funding projects happening right now. I have this. I'm spending 10 or 15 hours a week as a steward in the open source Ethereum Commons, so a bunch of different projects are supporting me there. I'm also spending 10 or 15 hours a week in the Colorado community, especially around this hackathon and building this hackathon, so people are supporting me there. And then finally, a bunch of people are peer funding me for my podcast, Creating a Humanist Blockchain Future. So this is kind of like another version of those peer funding things, but in this final track around effective altruism. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the three main points here about the value that I'm looking to provide. The first is from bringing more effective altruists into blockchain, and really that's not really the goal. The goal is to dive deeper and to do explicit research and kind of thought work around, hey, should the effective altruist community treat blockchain as high on its cause selection sheet? Right now, positively shaping the development of artificial intelligence is number one on 80,000 hours as cause selection, which is good, but blockchain isn't on the list, and nor has it actually been researched. So I think that it should be researched. Another example of this is at EA Global San Francisco. There were, at least six talks on AI, but 0 talks on blockchain. So I think we at least need to do more thought work here. And the goal for me would be to essentially to write things that we'd post on effectivealtruism.com, and to work with CEA and Open Philanthropy Project in 80,000 hours to understand what it takes to get something as a high priority cause and determining if that should be true or not. So that's kind of the main goal here is, a lot of effective altruists are into blockchain crypto and are interested by it, and they're doing their projects, they're doing their investing, but we don't have specific kind of work being done at the should this be a cause thing. And so, yeah, and the macro point here is that positively shaping blockchain and crypto, it could be something that we should work on. And I'm not sure, but this is primarily because this is going to be a big movement, is what it seems like. And if we can have effective altruist kind of people within that, maybe we should be thinking about the externalities of these power shifts, and maybe we should be thinking about these externalities of these wealth shifts, and these externalities of, disintermediation and those kinds of things. So, primarily getting that good EA game theory externalities perspective into the crypto land to see if that makes sense. So that's the first big point, is EAs into crypto. The second big point is crypto and blockchain people into effective altruism, kind of spreading the EA mindset within blockchain. I think that there's a couple different things that you can do here, but three big things that could be, first let me talk about the opportunity, which is that the blockchain world has so much money in it. And so purely from a money perspective, there's a lot of opportunity. And then the other perspective is that the culture in blockchain is still relatively nascent. And so it's possible to be more mutable, and we could, hopefully shape it for good. So three specific examples of this are creating this crypto pledge, which is where people would give a percentage of their crypto winnings to charity. So this is kind of like a founder's pledge, but for crypto. And then another big one is a bunch of the blockchain for social impact people are working around quantifying impact and using smart contracts to do that and whatever. And so they're already in this impact measuring mindset, but I think that more collaboration could be done between them and kind of the effective altruist community. And then the final piece here is that Vitalik Buterin, the main dude who is the lead of the Ethereum project. He is kind of a rationalist, less wrong reader, relatively into effective altruism, and so I think that working with him on this could really spread this in a good way. So that's the second point, is more blockchain folks into EA. And then the third piece here is around kind of experimenting with these bottom-up peer funding mechanisms in effective altruism. And so, yeah, like right now we still have a relatively top-down EA funding mechanism, which I think is generally good. And we're also trying out some things from this bottom-up perspective around like EA grants is a good example. But I think that as both EA expands and as the world moves more quickly, we need to experiment more with these bottom-up mechanisms, peer funding mechanisms. And this is aligned with these two big concepts from what I'm working on within those other silos, which is kind of the future of the organization and the future of work, and thinking about this thing called teal, which is kind of like a holacracy, and it's essentially the concept that we used to think of ourselves as a machine or like a family, but now we're starting to think of ourselves as an organism and be very relationship driven and kind of bottom up and like no hierarchy. So that's kind of what this teal, not Peter Thiel, but the color teal, what that mindset is all about. And so that would be aligned with this peer funding kind of bottom up system. And the other thing to note here is this is also part of this macro trend around leveraging the crowd. So there's this great book called Machine Platform Crowd, and the third one, Crowd, is about this macro trend away from cores, away from like institutions, and towards like the networked human organism and the networked crowd. And so this would be part of that, is getting EAs to start to get into leveraging the crowd and working with the community more. So purely by supporting me in this and doing some experimentation here and being reflective, this would be a good way to start experimenting with and with this kind of peer funding stuff in effective altruism. So that's the macro concept. EAs into blockchain through research, blockchain and crypto people into effective altruism through alignment and culture building, and then pushing forward these peer funding mindsets and effective altruism. Those are the three things that I'm hoping to work on for 5 hours a week from the effective altruist community. I think it could be powerful and a good 8-week trial. Okay, thanks everybody and goodbye.